Endurance Squad is training with a holistic edge. Plans for every kind of endurance athlete, plus yoga, mindset, and a team that's always in your corner. Join at yogitriathlete.com/squad. I just really needed 3 days in big nature for me. There's a greater picture there, right? It's like for me so that I can be a better coach. I can serve better. I can meet people better. Like I just needed 3 days away from society. And for me, that was just absolute freedom. Absolute freedom. I absolutely loved it. My mind was so content, even in the times where that were so difficult. It was just so content.
Welcome back to the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Jess. And if you know her, you already know this. She has a way of choosing experiences that don't come with a script. Cruce in Patagonia is the perfect example. 3 days, 100 kilometers, deep in the wild heart of the land, remote, rugged, and unfamiliar. And honestly, exactly where Jess belongs. Out front, leading into the wilderness with curiosity, courage, and a whole lot of heart. She spent 27 weeks preparing for a race that didn't even release the course until just days before the start. And that tells you everything. Jess doesn't wait for certainty to move forward. She doesn't need the full map. She trains for the moment, not the mileage. She trusts her ability to do hard things, to meet whatever rises with presence, and to keep going long after the mind starts offering reasons to stop. If you've been listening to this season of the Awake Athlete Podcast, you've heard the entire lead up, not just the physical training, but the deeper work, the mindset shifts, the awareness, the preparation that had nothing to do with distance and everything to do with how you show up when things are unknown. Jess stepped into El Cruce not just to race, but to discover, to peel back another layer, to see who she becomes when the terrain is unpredictable and the only path forward is the step right beneath her feet. She's the head mindset coach at Yogi Triathlete, and she lives this work. She lives to teach it. She goes first. She lets her yes be yes. And in doing so, she shows all of us what it looks like to live awake, live ready, and meet the unknown with your whole being. Jess, I'm super excited to hear all about this. Welcome back to the podcast as a guest.
Thank you. I love being on this end of things. And yeah, I'm excited to see what comes up from within during this conversation, even just you talking about it and thinking about the terrain and thinking about the experience and the 27 weeks leading into it. Yeah, there's a lot to it. And I think it's going to be a really difficult experience to capture in the limitation of words, but I'll do my best.
Well, if you had, let's put you right on the spot, one word to describe what you experienced. I know when I talked to you, well, I'll have you answer the question.
Thrilling.
I was going to say, when I finally connected with you on Friday, that was the first thing you had said, or it was in your voice message. That's what it was, in your voice message to me. The most thrilling day of my life or experience of my life.
That was the most thrilling experience of my life. Yeah, I felt like stage 3, which I didn't even see the stage until one day after I experienced it, which was something I love so much about this race. I felt like it was the day I waited for my whole life. Yeah, it's like I get emotional just thinking about that day. It was like, this is exactly where I want to be.
Do you think that's because it's emotional because of the 27 weeks of training, the journey to get there, the 3 days of not knowing what the course would be like, and then you're finally wrung out and it's like, what's left?
I think life is tough. Life is tough. And I had a lot of obstacles and I had so much gratitude, such an incredible amount of gratitude, like this emotion that's coming up right now, like I don't even know 20 seconds into this podcast is really just this appreciation for getting myself there, on the top of this mountain in this big mountain traverse and being in this situation where it's like, one misstep and you're the headline in the news. And I love that. I've always ridden the edge of my life. I love that about me and just being so grateful for who I am and that I got myself there. And it wasn't an easy path. And it literally wasn't an easy path. Like that day was so tough. All 3 of the stages were so tough. But just being in this appreciation that is so hard to describe, where you're just in this moment or moments in life where you're like, There is no place else for me to be, and for me, this is my education for being a better coach. And I wanna thank all of the athletes that work with me and put their trust in me. They often tell me that, "Oh, I was doing this thing and, like, you were just in my head." Well, I was in my head. Like, all of the things that I teach them, I'm living as well, and so appreciative that I get to teach and to guide and to coach these amazing athletes. And in that moment, on that day, just to realize that, like, this stuff works. And if you show up for the work and especially when you don't feel like it or you don't want to, or there's an obstacle in your way, like when you do that, you train yourself into a new mind. And the appreciation that I had that day, and along with just the thrill of the terrain, ropes and chains and, like high mountain guides, like lending you a hand because there's no way you can get up to this peak without help. Like, my God, just the appreciation I had that day was beyond. I can't remember a day that I felt like that. I really don't. And that's why I say I feel like it was the day that I waited for my whole life that I didn't even know I was waiting for.
You're tapping into appreciation and gratitude. And so, for people listening to this, you being the head mindset coach, is that a tool? Is that something in a toolbox someone can use to pull themselves out of pain, discomfort, fear, anxiousness, doubt?
Yeah, it's gratitude is the highest state of receiving. Right? So when you're receiving, you're open. And so it doesn't always mean like, "Oh, I'm so grateful that I look really great in this outfit today," or that everything's going really great. It's like being grateful for, I don't know, like, for example, what's coming to mind is like, and I've had this many times in my life, like maybe somebody in my life that, the relationship turned sour or they express distaste for me, which has happened, and it's really brutal. And to be able to see and experience that with gratitude, because those people are your greatest teachers. So gratitude is huge. And I want to make this so freaking clear. This is not a fake it till you make it. That is a terrible recipe. Don't ever do it. Because what you're doing when you're faking it until you make it is that you're skipping rungs on the ladder. And you can't skip any rungs on the ladder when we're talking about developing mental acuity and mental strength. So you have to go to whatever that next thing is. And so there have been times in my life where life has brought me down to my knees and then kicked me into the corner. And in those moments, I can still be grateful that I'm getting a breath. So it's not that I have to love the situation, but there's gratitude because life is unrolling what I am ready for. And there's so many times that things roll out to us in life and we don't feel like we're ready or we don't want to experience it. When you can start to be grateful by opening up your perspective to say, I must be ready for this. And our minds are anti fragile. So we need the adversity, we need the challenge in order to grow. So if you want a stronger mindset, we need to talk about these techniques to be able to walk through those storms, And when you're in the storm, just be in the storm. And you don't have to love it, but you can be grateful because you're getting a growth spurt. And I had a lot of growth spurts along the way leading into this event. And this has been a really huge year of like letting go and being grateful for all the challenges that I've experienced. And so yeah, gratitude it's everything. It's huge. It's huge. It's not, I'm not talking about positive thinking and positive talk. That's right up there with fake it till you make it. Because if you're trying to be positive when you've got like, fear or like intensity that's expressing itself because what you're going through in life is really tough, you don't have to make it positive, but you can be grateful for that next breath that you're getting. And I think we take breath for granted. We think we're going to get another. It's like, it's not our right. It's a gift. It says you get to continue to live. And I think any of us who are endurance athletes know that like there's a part of us that craves that challenge. And so be grateful for that.
Having the tools and the belief that you're prepared for whatever is served up for you doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to move through it with grace and with ease. Meaning, someone who says, "Really, I'm ready for this thing. I don't have any idea how to move through it." Well, that Would you agree, like, that is the belief, universal belief that you're ready for it because you're gonna slip into challenge and probably a little bit of discomfort and maybe even failure, but you're going to learn from it? Meaning you're ready for whatever the experience is, you may not be perfect at it,
Yeah, I mean, the only failure is, I think,
not trying.
yeah, not trying and not really looking at the storm that's in front of you. It's just a storm. It's gonna pass. And it really goes back to this line from the Gita that was, like, just such a guiding light for me throughout this entire experience. Not the training, but, like, the actual race. Yeah. So,
What is that?
well, I feel like you should grab the Gita. It's back there. But
And what is the Gita? Go ahead, tell people.
yeah, so and careful because it's, like, so wrecked. It's like
Well, your copy is.
the spine is broken and the
My copy is a little
pages
newer.
are falling out, and actually, I'm looking at a sticky note right here that says, "I love you, you love me," and that came from our meditation teacher during a time where, someone turned very sour on us, and it was really, really rough, and that was the mantra he gave us, was like, "I love you and you love me," and all this fear and all this anger is just like, we need to this is the storm that we all needed to get into the clearing. Now, whether that other person got into a clear I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. It was just what came up for us, and it was really, really hard and hurtful, and, yeah, I kept that little sticky note because I remember when he gave that to us, I was like,
Need
"I do
that.
not love this person right now."
Well, the other it's funny because the other thing Bob gave us was like the 3 to me, peace and harmony, peace and harmony.
Yeah. So, okay, so the Bhagavad Gita and the translation I have is Eknathaswaran. So I think every single endurance athlete and every coach, I think that every coach needs to be living this mindset work, but that is my opinion. Very few people actually do this work, and that's okay. So it's Hindu scripture, which seems a little overwhelming. And I don't identify as Hindu or I don't identify with any sort of organized religion, although I accept all of it, right? It's like I think faith and trust can be built through those things, and I think they're very important and they're beautiful. So the Gita is the story of the everyman's battle with the mind. And Arjuna is the main character, and he's the greatest warrior of all time. And Krishna is his chariot driver, and Krishna represents the higher mind, right? And Arjuna represents you and me, like the everyman or every woman or every person. And it opens up on a battlefield, and they're about to go into this huge battle, and Arjuna says, you know, I need to see who I'm fighting, and so Krishna drives him into the battlefield, and he sees, and he's like, I can't do this fight. Like these are my brothers, these are my cousins, these are my uncles, these are my elders. Like I cannot fight these people. Like what good is going to come out of this battle? Like I'm killing my family members. And so those are the Kauravas and they represent the thoughts. And so this is the battle of the mind, right? Because we're so identified with our thoughts. And so Arjuna is like super dramatic and he like falls to the bottom of the chariot. And he's like, I can't do it, right? He's like cowering in the fear. And, you know, there's the failure right there. Not trusting that what is rolling out for you is for you. It's not happening to you. And so Krishna, which I love, goes, get up. Like, get up and fight. Being a coward is not becoming you. Get up. You have no idea who you are. Get up and fight the battle. So that's pretty much the story of the battle of the mind. And then it goes on from there. And it's the first, like, I don't know, I think there's 18, yeah, there's 18 chapters. And like, I would say the first 2/3 of the book, Arjun is just like, just tell me what to do, dude. Like, just tell me what to do. Like, I don't, it's enough with all this spirituality stuff and whatever, just tell me what to do. But then he gets to a point where he realizes that, like, because Krishna keeps saying, like, you've got all the answers. They're all within you. You have to find out who you are. And yeah, so it's not for many chapters that finally Arjuna realizes that he has all the answers and blah, blah, blah. So in the second, I've read this book many times, but in the second chapter, which is self-realization, I literally got to this point and I stopped reading because I thought this is all I need for this race. And it says, when the senses contact sense objects, a person experiences cold or heat, pleasure or pain. These experiences are fleeting. They come and go. Bear them patiently, Arjuna. And that bear them patiently, Arjuna, stayed with me like unbelievable, because when the senses experience sense objects, right? So we have our senses, our sight, our hearing, our taste, our touch, our smell, and then those touch sense objects in the world, right? The coldness of the mornings or the insane pitch of the ascents and the descents. So it's like we're coming in contact with these trials, right, in our life, and in this case, the terrain. I mean, the terrain was crazy. And it was like, but it's fleeting. It's gonna come and it's gonna go. Like the guy behind me with the really loud voice, and he's just like talking really loud, and he's just, like that guy. I just kept thinking to myself, bear them patiently, bear them patiently,
Yeah.
bear them patiently,
Temporary.
bear them
Hmm.
patiently. And does this gentleman have the right to be exuberant? Bear him patiently. He deserves your kindness and your space. And if you really don't like it, then pass a bunch of people in front of you and get out of his view. But don't expect him to change for your comfort. Don't expect the terrain to change for your comfort. And, yeah, I love that. It's so that really stayed with me. It was just like, bear them patiently, bear it patiently, all of it. So in times where it was really, really tough, I'm like, "This is fleeting. It's gonna go." And it always did. And then something else came.
There's always something else.
Something else.
So that leads me into like, I'm sure everybody is in some respect wondering, like, how does one attempt to go after something like this, not knowing the actual course? So having I don't know, how do you have the wherewithal, the mind to say and to trust that you're going into a foreign country, you're traveling how many hours, 3 planes and some Ubers and stuff, a rental car to get there. How does one immerse themselves in handing themselves over to not knowing a course of something with like 5,000 people doing it?
I mean, it's presence. It was 100, and it almost sounds lame to say that, like, presence, but I'm saying, like, hardcore freaking train your mind to be right where your feet are. Because any worry, any fear, all of that was about what may happen. And in the present moment, you're always fine. So I would go out for trail runs and you'd be like, "How did it go?" And I'm like, "I'm heavy. I'm slow. I feel awful." I don't think I've said that more than I did in those 27 weeks. There was so much unknown, flying in, getting in at night, renting a car, driving in the mountains, going to this village. All I kept reading about the village was like, nah, they don't speak English there, which I wouldn't expect them to, like where I'm in Patagonia, like I'm in Argentina. Don't expect people to speak English, but just being present, being present, being present, and following just this pull of like, although this was I think the biggest endeavor I've ever done, and by far second to us, like blowing our life up and moving into our car and our and starting this crazy community, which is like I can't imagine doing anything else in life. This was like had so much unknown to it, and not just leading into it, but like every moment of it. Like you said, I didn't know the stages. So even translating the website, it never really translated the whole thing. So there was so much I wasn't doing. And I did have 2 friends that were there that we met there that both speak Spanish, and they did help with some translations, but we weren't running together. And my friend Telsius was saying, like the translations were just that how it was translating was so poor. Like it was really hard. And there was so much that I was missing. But I just kept trusting that I would get the information when I needed it, not a moment too soon and not a moment too late, right? And I remember reading it one day, like well before I even started training. I was like, I'm like, I think I'm translating this right. Like, I don't think they released the stages until the day before the race. And I was like, God, I love that. Like, damn, I love that because why? That calls me to more. And I take what I do very seriously as a mindset coach. I really believe it was why I was put on this earth. And I specifically work with athletes because I am an athlete and I can speak the language and I've done the thing. I promise you, I've done the thing. Whatever the thing is we're working through, I've experienced it as well. And all of it just kept adding up to like, this is the next logical step for me. And then in June, they released the profiles. I was like, whoa, profiles. Okay, that's cool. So I got to see how long the stages were going to be and what the elevation gain and loss was going to be. So that was cool. But I didn't know what mountains I was going to be on, or like was just so much unknown. So in those moments, I've got a mind like everybody else. I have a nervous system that wants to protect me. So I would have those thoughts of like, am I going to die? Can I do this? Am I going to make the cutoffs? What if I, crash the car on the way to driving to the village? Like, what if the plane crashes? I have all of these thoughts. That's not now. And that is none of that is anything I want to bring fuel to. So it's not about what comes up, it's what you do with it. And in those moments, what I did with it was just come back to what is true, which is I'm fine right now. Like, I'm in Carlsbad, California. I'm on the Calavera trails. I'm fine. Like, I'm fine right now. And so that presence just reassures, like, the nervous system that says, like, "It's okay, I'm safe to feel this," because it's important to feel it. If you just kind of forget it, like, you try and press it away, like, don't do that. That's like a
It's like a cooker.
volcano. Ah, yeah, it's a cooker. That's no good. You're gonna freak
It's gonna
out.
blow the top
You are
off
gonna freak
eventually.
out.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be good. So, training your mind to deepen your relationship with your with the present moment allows this signaling to your nervous system that says, "This is so, so important. I am safe to feel this right now." Like, this thought's coming up and it's giving me a charge and I'm safe. So let's just feel it and process it and move on and finish the workout. So present moment awareness is the essence of the psychology of peak performance in sport. And I just lived that once again to a great degree because there was so many reasons to cancel this trip. So many reasons.
One last thing on the mindset piece, like, understand, and I love how you describe that because it's actually giving the listeners tools to come back to the present moment, like, "I'm safe right now," even words, mantra, whatever you wanna say. But understand that the mind or the ego, I guess you could say, only exists because we've got the past and the future, and it constantly wants the reference against something, and it will refuse to stay in the moment. There will be resistance to be here now, and this is why when I work with athletes to start, it's quite a little bit of a battle at first, like to sit still. It'd be like I'm running and I feel like I'm meditating when I'm running, and that's great. You're moving the body, but yet what happens when you're still? And so I think it's important to understand, like, the mind will resist this because the mind is practicing pulling in what has happened in the past, saying that's true, and pulling in what could potentially happen and saying that's true. And it's never about being in this particular moment right here where everything is okay.
Yeah, and you have to train that. You have to train that. And the reason why it's so hard is because we never trained it. Like, in kindergarten, they never said, like, "Hey, you're gonna have, like, thoughts about, like, how everyone is getting taller and you're not growing yet, and, like, you're gonna have this comparison, and it's okay to have those thoughts. Like, you're a unique individual, and we need you in this world." And, like, we were never taught this stuff. So we get to this point, like, where we're just like, the sucks enough point where we're like, I got to find another way. And so thank goodness, like neuroscience and sports is, recognizing now how important mindset is to performance, but it's just a matter of training. So I would expect, it would be tough at first. It was hell for me when I first started meditating, but because I'm disciplined, because I've got that strong will of an athlete, I sat no matter what. And you know this, like, and I've said this on the podcast, there were times that all I could do in meditation or breath work in the morning was scream because I had so much in the vault. The cooker was blowing up and I didn't know what to do with that because nobody ever told me that you can like feel things and do that in a way that, nurtures your system and not increases the threat. And all of that stuff about like, am I going to die? Like, am I going to fall off the mountain? Am I going to like crash the car? Am I going to be robbed? Like all that stuff is just me trying to protect me and keep me safe. And when you can see that, gratitude is a really great tool there to say, thank you, but I don't live that way anymore. Or thank you, but I'm safe right now. It's huge. It's huge. There's nothing about it that's lame.
Yeah.
I used to think this shit was totally lame. There's nothing about it that's lame. This is like warrior level mindset jujitsu.
Ninja jujitsu,
Totally.
karate.
It is so badass. I love it.
I think one more thing, it's like people may look at us like, "Oh, you guys have it all figured out and, you're meditating and so your life is blissful." That's untrue, and you just shared it. And when I was in Arizona and on the swim, I was like, "I'm gonna drown, I'm gonna panic." Like, it's not that we don't have these thoughts, it's just that we shift where our focus is, which is basically moving away from an unhelpful thought onto something else that's most often neutral.
And that's the training, the movement of the awareness from the I'm going to drown to the I'm fine right now. That space is the training. So if you sit and you go, I can't do this because my mind's too busy. Well,
Everyone's mind is
Let's
busy.
go back to the failure conversation. Like, that's just you failing yourself and quitting. Like, you can do this. You can do this, but you need guidance, like you need guidance. You do. Like,
Right.
to have a mindset coach, somebody who's doing it, who's living it at this like high level. I mean, for me, that's what I would want. That's what I would want. That's who I learned from, our teacher. And then I learned from myself by putting myself in these situations. Yeah. Like, you want to make sure the person you're learning this stuff from is like living it at a higher degree than you are. So they can teach you through their experience.
All right. Hope everybody has a good framework for the mindset piece.
I know. It's
We
so
just
funny.
went
You're
into
like,
that.
last thing on
I
mindset,
know. It's
but
just so good. It's so good because
this
this is framing.
I can't not talk about
Right.
mindset.
Can't not talk
There's
about it.
nothing outside of mindset.
All right, let's get into. I want to put you in the place of that first day the day before the race, where you had to go register, and you start to immerse yourself in the community. Like, you start to see the people. Well, you start seeing the people in town and
Yeah, but
around.
I was, me. I check in my Airbnb and then
Yeah.
I'm just like in a solitude bubble. So I
All right.
wasn't really
So you're moving
going
from
into town at
moving from
all.
solitude bubble, and now you're going to go register. And what are you seeing? What does this camp look like? What are the people? What's the energy there? The vibe there?
Ugh, the energy is so beautiful. It is so lighthearted. It is fun. It is supportive. It is helpful, like unbelievable. They always had somebody, an English speaking person there, or I had Telsius with me where I was like, what is she saying? What am I doing? What am I signing? Where do I sign? Yeah, the energy there is no lack of energy in the Argentinian society. And what I found out about this race is that this race is like a rite of passage for the people of Argentina. It's like if you go to like Southie in Boston, they're just like, yeah, I'm Ricky's brother Timmy, and Robbie's brother and my cousin Maria, like it's like everybody's like, so and so did it last year and I'm here with my daughter and my husband and I'm doing it for the fifth time and this is my first time and my sister did it last year. Like, this is a rite of passage for this culture. And so the energy around it is incredible. The energy around it is so big and just very welcoming. It was not intimidating. I was not intimidated at all. It was just, it's like Ironman triathlon. It's people of all shapes and sizes. Argentinian people are very beautiful. Yeah, just super. It was really exciting. And it was interesting. I think I was talking with Telsius on the phone before I left, and she was getting there on Monday, and she's like, yeah, Tuesday, like, we'll go down and we'll register. She's like, I'm just so excited to get in the vibe. And like something shifted in me. I was like, yeah, I'm so excited to get into the vibe. Because this was a very heavy logistics. There was a lot of heavy logistics leading into it and throughout the race. So yeah, it was just so welcoming and just amazing. Like, you get all the stuff you get. Like, you go in there and they give you a bracelet and they're like, this is loaded with 1,000,000 pesos. You get this bracelet. And so you can just kind of wave your bracelet around and buy things. And, if you want a massage or whatever, like, so that you don't have to worry about having money. And it was just really fun. It was like, I have 1,000,000 pesos on my wrist. And yeah, there was no race. There was no race briefing, which was hysterical for 5,000 people in a race that lasted a week. No race briefing. Love that. And yeah, and then you got your kit. So you registered, signed your life away, you paid your balance because you had a camp, and I rented a sleeping bag, a sleeping mattress, a camp chair. I got a massage, I got the boots one day, so I paid my balance, and then you go and you pick up your sleeping bag and stuff, and then you go down to the expo and you get your kit. As you know, the branding on this is like so on point, right? So they open up this beautiful box, which I didn't even bring home, but a lot of people had it on the airplane because you're like, "Well, this box is so beautiful. What do I do with it?" But I left mine there. And you open it up and you have full branded gear. You have beautiful base layer. You have a beautiful race jersey that you're wearing. You have a beautiful fleece that you have. You get a buff, you got an amenity kit. What else was in there? I bought this beanie that I have on. Yeah, I think that was it. Like, you get the kit, but just beautiful, amazing gear. And you wear that throughout. And then, of course, there's required gear. You had to have a survival blanket. You had to have a bivy sack. You had to have that fleece and that base layer with you at all times, plus a rain jacket that you could run in. And so there was gear checks throughout the race, which I love all that stuff. Like, that's just keeps reminding you, like, what you're doing is super legit. What you're doing is super legit. And I love that. I love that feeling. I'm not without ego. I like that. I like being like, yeah, I'm doing something pretty legit right now. So the energy was, yeah, incredible. Loved it. Just, I didn't have any nerves. I'm just like, I'm here. Like, I'm here and I'm safe. Like, I didn't die on the car. The plane didn't crash. So far, so good. Yeah.
What was the most, like, unpredictable moment on day 1 when you lined up at the start line? What was one thing that you were just like, "Wow, this is pretty incredible?"
I mean, I knew the energy was gonna be high, but, like, I've got a video of this guy. I don't know if he's the race director or the MC. The MC was a woman, she was fantastic, but this guy, like, he had this, like, Crocodile Dundee hat on, and he had these, like, crazy pants, and the music was blasting, and he's just jumping up and down on the stage. I don't think I've showed you this guy yet. He was awesome, and then all the people so to understand how this race goes, it started on Monday, December 1st. There's 5 groups that go. Everybody goes for 3 days. So group 1 starts on Monday, they end on Wednesday. Group 2 starts on Tuesday, they end on Thursday. My group was group 3, and we ended on Friday, right? And then you have group 4 and you have group 5. So I was in group 3, and then within group 3, you have different starting times based on what your 10K time is that you put in when you registered. So then they're, like, filtering you through, and you have to go through this place, and they're checking your gear to make sure, because if you don't have the gear, you get DQ'd, no questions. And then I get into the starting corral, and, like, I'm usually pretty hyped up, like, pretty excited, not panicked or anything like that. I had, like, a little bit of, like, "Holy shit, we're here." I was so grateful, like, "Thank you, mom. Thank you, dad. Thank you, BJ. Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Matthew." Those are my brothers, and my sister, and Clark. And like this core group of people that I just named are like my biggest cheerleaders ever. My family is so incredibly supportive of me and so excited and so accepting of all the training that I've done over the past 20 plus years. They are just always in awe, always like in belief, and just wonderful, beautiful people that I came in to spend this life with. And then they started playing this song, which must have been some kind of favorite song. I don't know what they were playing, a lot of, like, English rock and things like that, and then everybody's just, like, jumping up and down and singing, and I didn't know what the words were, but I'm jumping up and down and, just, like, yelling, and the energy was super, super high, and I just was like I just felt really ready, like, I felt so ready. There was nothing I would have done different. I nailed my training, and I was just like it truly was like a celebration. It truly was a celebration. I didn't have any nerves, and the the finish and starting and the finish, and it's a little bit like Kona where you have the big ramp. Like, it was a big to do. And because this race is like this national treasure, well, the spectators were insane. Throughout the entire race, they were just insane and so exuberant. And so I think I knew the starting line would be great, but like the energy was, I remember sitting there going like, is this like bigger than like energy at Ironman? And I was like, maybe not Kona, because Kona's pretty energetic, but it was right there, if not edging ahead. And perhaps it was just the allure of where I was. I kept thinking about myself just like from a 10,000-foot view of like where I was on the globe. And that was just so spectacular to me.
So being with all these people, then you head out on the course. So were you with all these people, or are you alone at times?
The first day, all going together. So we were going off in like 5-minute increments, and you run through the village, and then you immediately start this climb, Cerro Bayu, which is a ski resort. And there's just like, you're on a fire road for a while. So people are jockeying for position, but you're not going to like, you don't want to go all out, right? Like it's the first 20 minutes of a 3-day stage race. So I was following your strategy, which was day 1, keep it at a 5-6. And it was like, whoever gets in front of me, great. Whoever's behind me, great. Whatever, bear it all patiently. And then you get onto the single track and you start the climb. And similar to what we experienced at the Costa Rica cycling challenge, there's no switchbacks. They go straight up the mountain, like straight up the mountain. So, so steep. And there was like log jams, like where there's parts where are super technical where you have to like grab, you're trying to grab onto a tree and you're trying to figure out how you're going to like take this next step because it's half your body length. And, so it slows down and everything. But I was like, I don't know. I was just like I was in no rush. And so, yeah, I had a lot of people around me. at first. But then what I was finding, which was really cool, is that when we hit aid stations, the first aid station was not quite at the peak of Cerro Bayou, but it was like where maybe the lift would take you, and then, of course, there's another lift that would take you all the way up to the top, and it was like it was crazy. I was like, "Is there, like, a wedding going on? Like, was there, like, a party going on?" The aid stations were such a party, and what I realized was that people were going to aid stations, and they were, like, seeing their friends and their cousins and, all this stuff, and it was like a party, and they're dancing, and they're, jumping all around, and I was like I would go in, that first aid station, I was just hammering a bunch of watermelon and I was out. And so when I would leave an aid station because everybody was hanging out and partying, I was alone. And so there were times where I was like, not so much on the first day because there's so many people on the mountain. I think it was like the first day. But throughout the race, I would go into aid stations with a bunch of people and I would come out alone and I would be alone and I would be in this forest or on these climbs or descents or whatever by myself. And it was so amazing. But I always kind of felt like I was by myself because I wasn't speaking the language. And the majority of people were from Argentina. And because we had little flags that we could put on our packs. And so you could see like where people were from. And our flag was also on our bib number. And so it was this really interesting experience that I was having on the first day, which ensued for the following 2 days, which was like, I was like this witness because nobody was talking to me and I wasn't talking to them. Just figured out by listening to them what the word was to like pass somebody on the left. I don't even think I was saying it right, but I was just saying it. And I was like, if I just say it fast enough, then they'll know what I'm talking about. And I was just this witness to like this whole experience that was happening. And I was in total silence because I wasn't communicating with anyone and they weren't communicating with me. There were times where there was a lot of people around me, but then there were those really sacred times where I would get out of an aid station, I would be all by myself, which was fantastic. And there wasn't a lot of aid stations. I mean, there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was only 7 aid stations for the entire 3 days. There was 2 on the last day, 2 on the second day, and 3 on the first day.
What was at the aid stations? Give us a quick rundown.
Uh
What kind of options you got?
There was watermelon, chips, a lot of candy, Coke. I mean, Coke and watermelon were what I did, and I took some chips, but then there was like, water, Gatorade, there was cheese, on the last aid station at the last aid station on the last day, and I had like K to go. I was like, there was this big pile of cheese, and I was like, I'm gonna have a hunk of cheese right now because I just needed something like different. And I had this like big chunk of like cheddar cheese. It was heavenly. And I was like, thank you, Mama Cow. Like I was just in gratitude, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for this cheese. It was really delicious. So yeah, nothing crazy, really, honestly, nothing crazy. It was very basic. It was like nuts and crackers and chips and candy and Coke and watermelon. And one day, I think they had honeydew melon, which I was just hammering honeydew melon and hammering watermelon. Tasted so good. But I was so satiated by my own nutrition that I was carrying that like I never showed up at an aid station like, God, I need something. I don't know what it is. Like, oh my God, nothing. I had zero nutritional problems. Zero.
Oh,
So I did a little breakdown. And then of course there's nutrition outside of it, which I think I did a really good job of. And a lot of carbs, all the carbs. I also found out that people in Argentina love their sugar.
also frame it as how long were you training? How long were you out there each day to give them
Oh,
perspective?
yeah. Okay, I don't have my
Well, roughly. Like,
2 of my times. I have 2 of my times.
there you go.
Alright, I did a good breakdown. Okay, day 1, took me 5 hours and 41 minutes, and I averaged 423 calories an hour and 137 grams of carbs per hour. That was awesome. Now that doesn't include, like, the watermelon, whatever. And I always had 1 flask that had water in it. And then day 2, I did 536 and averaged 364 calories an hour and 93 carbs per hour. And then day 3, it was a little bit low, 291 calories an hour and 75 grams of carbs per hour. And then when I look, and that was 6 hours and 27 minutes. And so that was the lowest amount. And one of the reasons was between the aid stations, it was like 4 hours in between the aid stations, which again, something else I love about ultra running, like you don't have an aid station every mile. And in between these aid stations, which was there was really only one aid station, we just hit it twice, was this massive mountain climb, huge mountain traverse, huge descent. And there were so many moments on that stage that, like, you just needed to be awake and ready. I couldn't be, like, fiddling around trying to get my bottle out, and so I had gels in a gel flask. I had 2 flasks with gels in it because they didn't want any single-use packaging out there, and I had 1 gel flask that had 300 calories and 300 milligrams of caffeine, and I sucked that thing down on the climb, and something hit at the top, and I felt amazing. And then on the descent, I did stop. I was like, okay, I got to get my other bottle of blanks out here. I could feel that I was low, but I was never at a point where I was bonking. And then that's when I got to the aid station. I had that piece of cheese. It was really delicious. And I felt really grateful for it. So I feel like I did really good. And I always had a bottle of blanks in the morning before I started.
So what's blanks for those that are listening?
Yeah, so Blank Sports Nutrition, look no further. I mean, this is the stuff. Like, I use their high carb mix, 400 calories an hour, 100 grams of carbs. I didn't bring a bladder with water, so I had six 17-ounce flasks. I lost a flask on the first day, so then I had 5 17-ounce flasks. So one of those flasks was always water, because sometimes you just want water. And then I had 4 flasks with blanks in it. So each flask had the 400, 100 combo. Plus, I would go through, I think, 2 Right Stuff, which, what is that?
1780.
1,780 milligrams of sodium. And I would split that between the bottles each day. And then I had SIS gels. So I would have 5 gels a day. On the last day, I had 6 gels. So yeah, that's what I used for nutrition. And the flavors I used were watermelon and root beer. So I had
For blanks.
I had some flasks with root beer and some flasks with watermelon. And that was like perfect because it wasn't like all sweet, and I would like pull it out and be like, oh, what's this? Like, oh, watermelon. And people were so kind. Like, I would be like, the thing about, like, there were so many odd, very difficult, odd, weird movements that you have to make when you're wearing a running pack and you're like trying not to stop, and like just weird angles of like your wrists and your head and your neck. And people were so kind. Like, they would see me trying to reach back there and get it. And they would help me out. And so, yeah, I mean, that nutrition was spot on. And then in the morning, it was just all the carbs, right? It was like oatmeal. Then I had coffee, which to my surprise was sugar. There was sugar in it.
Already in it.
Already in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were asking me, do you want sugar in the coffee? Sucro. And I was like, no, 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 just negro, 100% negro. And then I drank it. I was like, oh my God, it's got sugar in it. But, again, when you train your mind, like, the reframe is right there. I was like, what do you need? You need caffeine, you need sugar. This is actually perfect. It's very efficient. Like, just drink it up, shut up. And by the end I was like, I think I'm acquiring a taste for this sugar coffee. And then I would have like a roll. I would have oatmeal, and then I ended up pouring my coffee into the oatmeal because I needed more water, and I was like, perfect, just put it in there. So I would have like big carb breakfast and then a bottle of blanks that I would sip on. So I would have that before I even left. And then as soon as I got back to camp, they always had food right there. So like one day I was just hammering honeydew melon and watermelon at the finish. It was so good. And then I would pick up, again, logistics. You would go to your gear check. Then I would go and get my camp bag, which was 150 pounds. And then I would schlep that to my tent, which somebody would always come and help me, one of the volunteers. And I would go to the tent. I would immediately mix up the blanks recovery mix cappuccino. They would give you 2 liters of water. So I had the water to mix it up. And one of the key things I brought was like the protein shaker. So I would have my blanks immediately. After stage 2, I doubled it. Instead of doing 2 scoops, I did 4 scoops. Like, I was like just wanting to get the protein in. And then as soon as I finished that, I would mix up the Bloom Super Greens and creatine. And I would take that and I would go to the lake and I would get in the lake. And then after that, it was like, then you would go and I would eat lunch. So I was really like doing a good job at getting food in. Now,
What was everybody else doing?
they were drinking mate. That's what they do.
Didn't the party start? You were telling me like the parties would start.
Such a social scene. It was so great. Yeah, people would like have their camp chairs. I mean, there was just so much laughing. There was so much laughing. I loved the laughing. And people just laughing at each other and laughing at themselves, like trying to get in and out of a tent after, a couple stages of racing. It was just really fun. It was a very good vibe at camp. And then here's the thing. They have lunch and lunch goes till 6 p.m., right? And then they have this other thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's like snack time. Then that happens. And then dinner. So depending on when you finish, you get a bracelet for your dinner, right? So my dinner is at like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like 8 o'clock at night or 8:30. And Telsey's had one at like 9 o'clock at night because they eat really late there. Like restaurants don't even open until 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Crazy. And there was a couple other Americans there. These folks from Brooklyn, they were so nice. And they had a friend. They were like, we're telling our Argentine friend, like, he has to go talk to the race officials. Like, American, we're going to die eating at 9 o'clock at night. Like, we need to eat earlier. We need earlier lunches or dinners. And so one of our friends that we were with, he's a fast runner. And so he gave us his bracelet. And so we got an earlier dinner time. Telsis and I would go in and we would split dinner. She would get the dinner and I would get the table. And then he took our later dinner and he would do that. And so it was, again, there's always a way. And then if that didn't happen, I thought, well, I'll just eat so much at lunch that goes till 6. And then whatever the snack time is, which is just like more bread. And then go to bed. And it actually worked out perfect because it was like I would come out of dinner, I would hit the portage on, like brush my teeth and get into bed as everybody else was going into dinner, and then like drinking the mates and everything. And I would already be asleep by the time they came back for their, little mate party. So it worked out great.
What was it like, getting into the tent? What was the tent
Getting in the
experience
tent was
like?
not much of a problem. Getting out of the tent was a big problem. It was just, you would just hear people like,
Well,
oh,
there's so the pictures I saw, they were lined up pretty close to
they
one
were
another.
super close to each
Yeah.
other. And, previous version of me would have been like super stressed about that. Like, oh my God, somebody's going to be snoring. They're going to be loud. They're going to be this. They're going to be that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, first of all, everybody bear them patiently and everybody has a right to be who they are. Nobody needs to be anything else to make me more content. And, all I have to say is just like high quality earplugs. I slept like a baby. But yeah, getting in and out of the tent was a whole other event in itself. And on the third stage, I couldn't get out of the tent. Like I couldn't stand up. My quads were so incredibly torched. I could not stand up. And so my friend had to help me out of the tent. And in that moment, you're just like, how am I going to do this stage? Because if anybody looks at the third stage, the climb was so big and the descent was so big. And I'm like, I can't even get out of my tent.
Did Pure Vita have any the cycling challenge we did have any did it shed any light on this? Because those were like I mean, after you get after 2nd day, 3rd day, like, the legs, you're just like, "Whoa, how am I able to do this?"
Totally. I mean, that was just like the belief of like, I can do this. And like, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to be completely torched and be like, I have a huge climb ahead and a huge descent. And then I just had no idea the caliber of that last day. And again, that was like one of the best days. And I did a short little reel of some of the clips of that day. That was the only day I took my camera out. I didn't take my camera out.
Why is that?
'Cause I just really wanted to absorb it for me. This was for me. I said that to you. Like, I was like, I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm shutting down. Like, I'll talk to you at the end of the race. Just because you don't hear from me doesn't mean don't assume anything bad has happened. I just really needed 3 days in big nature for me. And when I say for me, there's a there's a greater picture there, right? It's like for me so that I can be a better coach. I can serve better. I can meet people better. Like I just needed 3 days away from society. And for me, that was just absolute freedom. Absolute freedom. I absolutely loved it. My mind was so content. So content. Even in the times where that were so difficult. It was just so content and just my self-talk was, like, amazing, and it was just right there. It was just like, "You're so amazing, Jess. Like, you're so amazing. Like, look at what you're doing. Like, this body is amazing." And, like, I'd have like a shooting pain and I'd be like, okay, like I see you, let's just keep going. You're amazing. You keep going. Yeah. So that definitely played into it. Just the belief of like, I can do this because there were times, remember on that cycling challenge where I was like, I wasn't sleeping and I would sleep like 2 hours. I'd be like, I think I slept like an hour or two. And I'm like, but I feel fine. And I'm like, let's go do it. And just day after day after day, I think that is so much of the fun is watching how incredible your body is. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Was there a moment or is there a moment that out there you just felt so connected with why you do these big things?
I mean, the whole thing from the time it came into my awareness to registering and feeling that like, "Oh, shit," moment, like, it's been a while since I've signed up for something that felt like made me feel like, whew, kept me awake.
Well,
Not like
for
a
comparison, what's the last thing that you did
I
that did
can't
that?
remember that feeling. The only time I remember that feeling is when I signed up for my first Ironman.
Oh, I was gonna say when you went to, India,
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. Yep.
but Ironman, yeah.
Yeah, that first Ironman in India was right there too, like, that was right yeah, I remember that was such a big one as well, but, I felt so yeah, I mean, this thing kept me on my toes, right? Like, when I say it kept me awake, I don't mean, like, I lost sleep over it. I mean, like, I was, like, awake, like, I continually, for 27 weeks, answered the question, like, "What's the best thing for my training right now? What's the best thing for my training right now? What's the best thing for my training right now?" And the training really took me to the edge. I mean, there was, like I remember this one Friday night where I was just crying. I was in tears, and I just let myself be in tears, and then when I wasn't in tears anymore, I got my ass out the door and onto the trail and got the work done. But when you said connected, I thought about this, and this happened, like, on the first day, and it just carried throughout, like, we're in these woods, and we're climbing up this huge mountain, and I'm just, like, feeling, like, the ecosystem, and, like, we're just, like, in this life force forest, and I just imagined, like, all the roots, how, like, the trees like, you see a tree, but, like, there's so much going on underneath, and they're feeding each other, and they're, like, sending nutrients to trees that aren't as healthy, and, like, I just felt like every step I took, like, as I hit it, I just felt it was almost like Avatar, like, I felt like everything underneath just, like, lit up and shot all this beautiful life force into me, and I felt that for 3 days. I mean, we were in ancient forests, we were in bamboo forests, we were, river banks, volcanic sand, like, up to the middle of your calf, ridiculously technical, like, break your face type of terrain, very steep descents, loose dirt, roots, rocks, like everything, every terrain that you could imagine, we traversed it. And underneath it all was this beautiful ecosystem of life force. And I felt like with every step, it fed me.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like it's like everything's alive. You're
Everything's
touching
alive.
life that's happening right now,
And the
and things you don't even
birds.
see.
And the birds just singing, not because El Cruce was happening, but because they're just singing. Like the forest is still there doing the thing it was doing when we were racing on it. And this is something I've been talking to my athletes about, especially leading into races when, there's that part of you that's like getting ready to do something and like it wants to protect you and you might have feelings of anxiousness. And I've been working with my athletes on this, just like the race is neutral. The lake that you're swimming in is neutral. It's just a lake. And like, what you bring to it is gonna be the meaning. And there's a meditation that we have in our meditation library called the mountain meditation, and how the mountain, like, no matter if it's raining or if it's foggy or people come and visit it or not, or they think it's beautiful or not, like, the mountain just remains its essential self. And so, when you're in that type of environment, I think it's very easy to be your essential self, which is contentment, which is limitless power, which is, like, otherworldly strength.
So does someone have to travel that far away, immerse themselves in a 3-day event to be stripped down, to have that ability to tap into contentment?
Absolutely not, but I love travel. I love
Yes.
to fly.
Obviously,
I
yes.
love to fly, and that goes back to traveling with my dad when I was younger. I loved to work on the plane, and I would bring my homework, and I would do all my homework on the plane, like, I love to fly. When I get on that plane and there's, like, the big plane with, like, you're just, like, you're going somewhere far. You're gonna be 10 hours on this flight. I absolutely love that. So, do you need to do that? No. Like, you could just go in your backyard and lay on the grass and imagine all the life that's underneath you. You don't have to do anything, but you do have to do what feels aligned for you. You have to do that. Enough with, like, maybe someday I'm seriously considering, like, I'm gonna stroke out if somebody else says that they're seriously considering coming on an adventure with me. It's like, just do it. Like, just do it. Today could be your last day. And if it is, like, are you living the life you wanna live? Do you feel purposeful in your life? And it doesn't mean that you have to have a huge life change. It just maybe there's something that you used to do that felt really purposeful that has fallen by the wayside. Maybe it's reading a book to your child at night. Like, it doesn't have to be getting on a huge plane and having this big adventure. It's what's relative to you. It all matters. You don't have to go 6,000 miles away to make something matter at all. But it's just slowing down to really look at, like, am I living the way that I want to live? I understand, like, we this society runs on money. We have to have jobs. Maybe we don't love our jobs, but, like, is there something that you do love that has fallen by the wayside? Pick it back up. It's for you. It's a gift that you have. Go exercise that gift.
What did you see on that level? Like, what did you see from the people down there? Were they living their purpose? Were they not considering seriously considering life?
I don't know.
What did you
I
get? What did you get from them?
I saw nothing but, like, I really didn't see anything but, like, really good vibes, great community, laughter, so much laughter, a lot of groaning. We were all groaning. If they should have had somebody walking around. I mean, maybe they shouldn't because maybe people wouldn't sign up for it, but, like, day 3 at camp at 5 o'clock in the morning, watching people walk around, it was like a zombie apocalypse. Like, nobody could bend their knees. Nobody could bend at the waist. Like, nobody could put any weight on their quads. And people were just giggling, They were just, like, laughing and taping themselves up and, putting on the KT tape and getting it done, getting to the starting line. It was really cold on the last day on that morning too. People were really cold, but it was hysterical. I think it was in Oregon last year being on the run at the Ironman there, the 70.3. And, like, I don't know, like a blister ripped. I don't know what it was. I was having a hot spot or just, like, my legs were sore, and I remember thinking, like, this is the very thing that is going to be a part of the story that you tell about how fun it is. Like, not being able to get out of the tent on the 3rd day and yet accomplishing this. By the way, I felt amazing on the descent. Like, I was fine by the time I got there. I love that because you're just like, "Okay, well, we'll see what happens," and you just stay with it and you move with it, and your body is so freaking amazing, and so is ibuprofen.
Yeah, that is definitely magical.
Definitely played that game, I'm not ashamed to say.
We'll talk about, I wanna hear about the training, if you can kinda wrap up, like, what did the training look like? What were the sports involved? Kinda give us a snapshot of that. I know people will probably listen to the Wake Athlete podcast and some of the insight, but share with us, like, what did the structural plan look like for you?
Well, I think I really liked how we did it. So you and I met when I got back from the Galapagos Islands. We met on a Friday, and then I started training on Monday. So it was just like we met. Also coming into this, obviously, have a big base. I've always been a consistent athlete. I'm just disciplined. It's who I am. And I also love this lifestyle. And at the end of the day, that's what Yogi Triathlete is. It's a lifestyle of longevity in sport with wellness. And I'm living that. I think you are also living proof of that. And so we met on a Friday and we were like, okay, let's just map out 8 weeks. Let's just map out 8 weeks. And so the 8 weeks was, I would say it was pretty conservative on running. Sunday was always the big trail run. Let's start on Mondays. Monday was always a recovery day. I was in the gym and I had like a 30-minute run. Tuesday was like a spicy swim with a bike. Wednesday was hills. Thursday was back on the trail. Friday was a spicy bike. Saturday was a long bike. And the only directive on that bike was like 4 to 6 hours, lots of climbing.
For those that coach with me, you'll probably get that quite often.
You will climb. Sunday was always on the trails, and it started like with 90 minutes. And I was in the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was in the gym, just like That first 8 weeks, I was in the gym for about 45 minutes to an hour doing work. And then after those first 8 weeks, we tweaked just a little bit. We upped my trail run on Thursday. We upped my trail run on Sunday. We decided to tweak the hills to just getting more turnover and going more track and strides. And I shifted with the increase of running, I shifted the strength to a little bit less, more of like a half an hour, but still 3 days a week. Yeah, and the TRX, I had this I miss that so much. I'll do that
We have
for
a TRX at home here.
We have a TRX at home,
Yeah.
and I am so addicted, I'm still addicted to this TRX, this woman, and she does TRX upper body, it's 30 minutes, and she does it with bands, like with the PT bands. Oh my God, like every single time I do it, I'm so sore, and I love it. I always say I was getting my Jen Aniston arms. And then I was in the gym Mondays and Wednesdays. And then after those first 16 weeks, then I guess we had 11 weeks left. Well, shit hit the fan back in August because I fell on the trail and didn't run for 3 weeks. And so this is the beauty of, obviously people are going to be like, yeah, but you're his wife. Yes, I am his wife. But BJ, what you have to understand about BJ and I is that we met working together. We've always worked together. So I think we've done a really good job of being like, okay, he's my coach. Like that's
Coach hat.
yeah, coach
Just
hat, husband hat, wife hat, business partner hat, and to be able to kind of compartmentalize these things. And so the beauty of that was like just being able to be with you day to day and being like, okay, like I can bike. I'm not in any pain. I can bike. I just, we were really conservative with that recovery. I had a pretty intense like bone bruise on the inside of my knee. And then it ended up like I could start to ride the bike and then I could start to get onto the trail. And it was so funny because I remember being like, the only thing that I can do that's like really pain-free is climb. It was like so great because I was like, what do I need for this race? Again, the reframe, right? It's not like, it wasn't like, well, I'm not running to it was like, no, but what do I need to do? I can climb.
Right.
And that's like the one thing I can do pain-free. That's so cool. And then we really, I think in the last 10 weeks, I had a trip planned for Colorado to do some altitude training because, again, I wasn't sure of the altitude, and somebody who had done this before said, get to altitude and do some altitude training. And I planned that trip when I was laid up and not running. It's like, how do I keep the momentum going? And in that time where I crashed and I wasn't running, there were thoughts of like, maybe this is a sign, you shouldn't do it. And it's like, hush, that is so silly. It's not a sign. It's just an obstacle that says, are you going to surrender? Are you going to keep moving forward? Are you going to like resist this? Are you going to fight this? Like this is for you. What are you learning? Pay attention. So then we did my training like up until the Colorado trip. And that was like, I think we talked about that. We talked about that on the podcast. Oh, you actually came on my podcast and we talked about it on the Awake Athlete podcast. Yeah, that was a really successful week. I pushed through an extreme amount of fatigue and I came home and I was like wrecked for a few days. And so these things happen, right? And we had to adjust the training. But what was involved always was swim, bike, run, and strength. Obviously, the running really took precedent. And I started to sew together like days on the trail. Or like a big day Friday, a huge bike on Saturday, and a big day on Sunday. And this swim was like literally once a week. When I stopped doing that Tuesday spicy swim because then that turned into a trail day. And yeah, so we just stayed fluid with it, but swim, bike, run. And I got a lot of fitness from the bike. And when I'm telling you, we're climbing straight up a mountain for 2.5 hours, climbing Palomar Mountain, just consistent, turning the pedals over, climbing for an hour plus, like every Saturday, that was everything. That was huge. And turns out I'm a good little climber. And I'm nasal breathing on this freaking climb and people are dying. I was like, whoa, like Palomar Mountain. Yes. My buddy right now. Yeah. And just that constant, like muscular endurance. I had that muscular endurance. It was really cool.
You also incorporated yoga and mobility
Oh
into
God,
the
yeah. Oh my God. I
accessory,
don't
like,
even name those because
I
they're
know,
so
but
in my
but I
system.
want to paint the whole picture.
Yeah. So yeah, Mondays I teach a power vinyasa class. So some days, like that was my recovery day. I was like, oh my God, my quads are killing me. And I always felt better on the other side of that. I taught a class on Tuesday and then I teach a private class on Wednesday morning. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had yoga no matter what. Those are non-negotiables, showing up for other people. And then it was, ways I would do a little mobility and a little yoga, a little mindful movement before my runs, 100%. Those things I don't even think they were, like, on the plan, they were just a part of what
It's
made me successful.
it's so ingrained in our life now,
It's
so
ingrained, yeah.
it's not even a checkbox on the
And,
training plan.
people say, like, "How many classes do you do a week?" Like, "You must do a lot of yoga, like, every day, like, an hour?" And I'm like, "Nah, I do, like, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, 27 minutes," like, sometimes just lying on the mat and doing breath work and doing some cat-cows and bridges, like, oh, it's just so when you're putting your body under this kind of stress, again, you wanna train that nervous system to say, "This is not a threat, like, we're safe, this is good, like, we're getting stronger," and you're getting stronger through that nurturing. And I did that meditation that I think a lot of the athletes are loving, which is the nurturing your nervous system meditation. It's so important. If we're not nurturing our nervous system, like, what are you doing? What are we doing? You're gonna break. You're gonna constrict and you're gonna break. It makes you very, very fragile. So yeah, those things were super important.
So this training plan, we're gonna make it
Yeah.
available
Yeah,
to the endurance
we're
squad.
putting this up in endurance squad.
So if you
Yep.
don't know what endurance squad is, go check it out, and sign up. Very efficient way to get some high level coaching and training plans to apply to anything that you want to go after.
Yeah. It's an endurance coaching community, a plus mindset. We're in there doing live streams. BJ does a Monday momentum. I do a Wednesday reset. We've started to do a Friday flow. You can connect with us at any time during the community. We get alerts on our phone. We pop in there. We respond. There's training plans. There's a huge on-demand library, athlete self-care, injury 101,
Downs, erase
Smackdown,
it.
guided meditations for athletes, yoga for athletes. I mean, it's $99 a month. Like it's pure gold. And this training plan for stage race mountain ultra will be in there. So right now, already in there is the foundational strength program that we created that I used. And that was, oh my God, the strength was everything. I literally did like step ups to high knees for hours at a time, hours at a time. Unbelievable. Like the strength was huge and upper body too because of using the poles. So to my TRX lady on YouTube, Laurie.
Anything you left behind in Argentina? Anything that you brought back with you? Any memories that you hold close to your heart?
I loved the little moments that I did connect with people. I think it was the second day and it was the beginning. The second day was just relentless. It was up, down, 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 in and out of riverbeds, like up, down, up, down, up, down. It was so relentless. And at the beginning, there was a bit of a log jam because we're like, all these people are starting and everybody was moving pretty good. It was great. And I love these little moments of connection, like somebody would somehow know I was from the United States and
Hollywood.
they would call, yeah, Hollywood, California. Where are you from? California. Like instead of saying Estados Unidos, like I would just say California because everybody, oh, Hollywood. I'm like, yeah, Hollywood. So then that would became kind of like my name. Like they would, hey, California, Hollywood. I was like, yeah, what's up? And so I literally the ground just gave away on me going down this descent. Like the land went away and I fell and like fell on my back and they're all like, bien, bien, like bueno, bueno, like you okay, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And the guy behind me was like, we say, because he could talk a little English, he said, when you do that, we say you buy land. And I was like, I love that. You buy land, like I
How
literally,
sweet.
I was like, that's so sweet. I said, well, in America, we say you eat shit. And like, I don't know how many people deep that went, but they loved that. And so they just kept, I could hear them like echoing down through this bamboo forest, like, eat shit, California. So that I loved those moments of connection where there was a language barrier. Sometimes there were words either in Spanish or in English, or there were no words at all. There was just like contact, like through your eyes, or it was really, really beautiful. I love that. I have come home with a confidence of that I haven't felt. I don't know, like a new level of confidence that I can guide anyone to any dream they want to realize through their mindset, but you have to do the work. And when I tell you that this work does not discriminate, I have worked with professional athletes. I have worked with people doing their first 5K. I have worked with people who want to get back to triathlon. I have worked with people who are going to the Olympic trials. And I'll tell you, this work does not discriminate. Some people that you would think would be able to handle it cannot handle it and will not do it. And they walk away and they don't train their mind. And then the most unsuspecting people that you would think are just so hardcore and they show up for the work and their lives are transforming and their performance is being fueled by this discipline of mindset that very few coaches are teaching in the way that we embody it in this very logical way. And so, yeah, it's really beautiful. And just that the mind that I experienced down there, the level of contentment was like a freedom and just unbelievable confirmation that this work works. If you show up and you do the reps, it works. It doesn't care who you are or what your history is or your trauma or your achievements. It doesn't care. It is non-discriminate. Like, it does not discriminate. It will work for anyone that shows up for it, and it's very, very, very simple. It's definitely the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it is so simple, and that's what I love about it. You just keep coming back to the simplicity of the foundational tools, right? Like, mastery is not about collecting all these tools and fancy things. It's not that. It's like, go back to the basics and do the reps. And any great athlete will tell you that, it's showing up for the work. So I would say that that's a beautiful confidence that cannot be shaken from me. And all the adversity and not pleasing people or seeing people and like huge success stories of people that I work with, like all of that has brought me here and I'm grateful for all of it, even though sometimes I've been so hard or sometimes I've been like, oh my God, like, can I guide this person? Like, am I out of my league? And just trusting, that the words come and the techniques are there and they're tried and true. And that this is in a world where mental health is it's just so poor, and people are really, really suffering, that there is a sustainable way out, and it's very simple, and you can start it today, and you can get back on that bike, or you can get back in that water, and you can get to that finish line, and you can overcome anything that you put your mind to, and I feel very confident that I can guide anybody to do that. Very confident in my ability to do that, and, because I live it and I practice it, and it pays dividends, and I'm living in those dividends.
And I see it. I've seen it
Yeah, you've seen it, for sure.
firsthand. All right, anything else you wanna add? Anything we forgot? Anything top of mind?
There was something I just thought about it. There's just things that I wrote down in my
Yeah.
journal while I was there. I love this one. Like, life is a testimonial to your own choices and the insight that you're able to glean from them. Like I got to that starting line because of my choices. And I haven't always made great choices, but I must have made a lot of good ones because here we are. And, something else that I was writing about, which is like, I was just kind of riffing on this after the race. Like, one of our biggest problems is our right to research. That, we can say it's because we love to research or that it makes us feel safe or we want to know the details first. But, like, what is the point? At what point does it become like, at what point does this control become so constricting that we research ourselves out of life? We research ourselves out of the adventure. We research ourselves out of the unknown, which is those things are the things that are really going to shape our character. And so, like, I don't know, it's like this, what point do we cross the line between curiosity and distrust? You're like, oh, I'm curious about this. I'm going to research it. I'm seriously considering it. I'm saying that. I'm not in judgment of anyone. It's just I hear that a lot. At what point are we moving into just like, we don't trust and we're trying to control it. And when we do that, we're constricting life. And when we do that, we constrict the flow and we create tension. And that tension is not strength. Like, tension is fragility. And there's this, hold on, I'm sorry. It just makes me think about that book, like The Coddling of the American Mind, where they talk about safetyism, which is well intentioned. It was always well intentioned, but what's happened is we've created a very fragile society where we're like researching everything to death and we're thinking ourselves into failure every day. So I was writing about that.
No, it's control. We have this false sense of that we can control all of it, even some of it, and the truth is we cannot. We cannot. There's no way we can control it all. And that's a surrender to the flow of life, surrender to what is. And the more that you do that, the more that you embrace that, the less stress and pain and suffering you're going to have in your life. We talk about it off mic all the time. This is the secret to life. It's like go with the flow of life. Watch where it takes you. Yes, do your due diligence, find the flights that you need to take to get to Argentina and everything, but you don't have to know exactly what is the car that you're going to get and what is the
Oh my god, I got the most
right?
overpriced piece of shit ever. And low tire pressure, right? Because there's one paved road and all the other ones aren't paved. But guess what? I come out of the hotel one day and apparently a couple of guys noticed that my tire was low. And next thing I know, there's these two guys. I come up to the car and two guys are walking down the driveway with an air compressor.
You can't script this
No,
stuff.
big language
Right.
barrier. All I can say is gracias, and they fixed the tire for me, you know?
So
And
beautiful.
yeah, it was amazing, but, here's one thing that I wrote after
Yeah.
day 2. I wrote, and I if you ever do anything like this or whatever you do, like, bring your journal with you and get the pen out and just write whatever it is that's coming to mind. Like, I wrote, to be successful at this race, you must be willing to experience it all. And that has been such a theme for me this year. And so I know we have to wrap this up. And so I'll just close with this. After I led the Patagonia adventure in February, my dad was in the last days of his life. I mean, like, if we looked on paper, a lot of people would have thought that that was very selfish for me to go, but knowing my dad and who he raised me to be, he would have been bullshit if I did not fulfill what I said I was gonna do because that was just him. And so the greatest way for me to honor him was to go forward with the trip, and the people who were going on the trip mattered, and they wanted to be there, and I am here to serve. And so it was a very important trip, and then after that trip, I went off the grid. And I went into this cabin in the woods in this national park in Chile, and it was absolutely beautiful. And the last words that I heard from my mom, because I called her and then we lost service, was, "It won't be long now." And I hear this, "It won't be long now." The call drops and I'm going off the grid, and this is what I'm left with. And I just had a very deep and beautiful experience during that trip, and what came out of it, I was sitting in front of this, like, I think it was like 2,000 or more than 2,000 years old, this alerce tree in the woods, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this tree and I'm looking at, like, how grand it is, and I'm looking at, like, all the places where it's been bruised or where it's sick and where there's new life and where it's ugly and where it's beautiful and where it's smooth and where it's missing bark and where there's dead branches and there's branches full, and I'm sitting in front of this tree and I had this, like, realization, like, it's about the full integration of who I am and all the choices that I've made that have hurt me or hurt other people, and all the choices that I've made that have served other people and served me, and the kindness and the jealousy and all of the things that I've experienced as being a human being on this earth. And it's not about tidying up the past, it's about bringing it all in and integrating it, because who you truly are is not waiting for you to be perfect or tidy or shiny. It accepts you and loves you for the full integration. And so that really, like, that was the big lesson from this. And so what I took from that was this willingness to experience all things, the willingness to experience all the feelings, right? I came home from that trip. 4 days later, I was on a plane to Marin County to go run this ultra. I crossed the finish line. My dad died that night, which was so his fashion, like, finish what you're going to do and then I will, and this willingness to experience that, and this willingness to experience, like, going into Marin being a little undercooked for that race. And this kept staying with me. Be willing to experience all things. Be willing to experience whatever the thoughts or the feelings that come up leading into this race. Like, be willing to experience the unknown and how exciting that is for you or how fearful that can feel as well. And when I'm on this terrain, and again, we're on every different terrain that you could ever imagine, it's all coming together. I was like, holy shit, here it is, the willingness. This is why I'm so content right now. I was so content. That race was so hard. There were so many days where you're just like, how about that stage? How about that pitch? How about that part? How about that mud? How about that, crossing? How about those ropes? How about those chains? Like, how about like how technical? How about that volcanic sand that feels as smoldering in my lungs right now? Like all this stuff. And I was just like, this is it. This has been the whole year of all these challenges that I've had, in my own inner world and in the world around me and this willingness to experience it all. And it all just like all of that, I didn't realize I was actually training. That was a big part of my training for this race and this willingness to experience it all. That, coming off the stage and having to check your gear and having to lug your bag, like I was willing to experience all of it. And if we're just willing to experience like let's just start with like our own emotions and our feelings. Like if we're willing to experience these storms of life, like we will see how much that integrates us into these next levels of our growth that takes us to the next level of the thing that we, the goal or the dream that we want to realize. And so that was something to answer your question that really was that I've taken away, not just from the race, like it was solidified in the race. It's just this willingness, and this full integration that there's nothing in your life that you should be ashamed about or regret or even like cling to because you're so proud of it. Like just let it all integrate. It's all a part of who you are. And then just keep moving forward from here.
Beautiful. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you, because this is the first time I've heard all these details and sharing it with everybody who's listening to this. And I'm sure they're waiting for what the next adventure will be. But in the meantime, there's plenty of yoga adventures for
Yes.
people to come adventure
Let's
with you on.
adventure.
And they're not necessarily like yoga immersions, they are adventures. Are
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay, I'll give you the rundown. Costa Rica in April is a yoga and meditation retreat. This is not a yoga adventure. So the difference is that a yoga adventure is adventure travel grounded in the practice of yoga. Okay. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world because I love adventure, obviously. But we're going to do a kayak tour. We're going to go on a catamaran. BJ's going to be there. He's going to be doing some training, some running. So we only have 3 spots. That's it. We have 1 female roommate spot. And so if you are a solo traveler and you want a room with a very dear friend of mine who is amazing, we'll get you in that room. And then we have 1 other room available for 2 people. So that's it. I think those are going to go pretty quick here. And then Iceland. Iceland in July. I'm super excited. I've never been to Iceland. I'm pretty intuitive about these trips, and I do feel really confident that Iceland is a one and done. So if that's on your bucket list, it's a big bucket list one. Please come and join us. We have an amazing group. My brother is going. He is so fun. He is the funniest person, I think, on this earth. Would you agree? He's really hysterical and he's super fun to
Yes.
be on adventure with. He was in the Galapagos Islands with us this spring. And so that's in July. And then Peru in October in the Sacred Valley. We're going to spend some time in Cusco and then we're going to go in the Sacred Valley. And these adventures are in partnership with the Travel Yogi, which is all like private travel, first class, really eco luxury. And we tick all the bucket list stuff. And then we'll take you to the places you would never go on your own. Like in Peru, we go into like these people's house and we have lunch with them. And like we have this sacred ceremony in this ancient forest. I mean, we like the last part of the Inca Trail. It's incredible. And then I have the Galapagos Islands again in November, which right now is sold out, but there is a wait list. And if that's one that you're like, oh my God, like again, she's going for the 3rd time and I still haven't signed up, I intuitively feel like I will be back in the Galapagos Islands again. But in the meantime, come to Iceland. Come to Peru. The Travel Yogi's actually doing a holiday booking bonus. They never do incentives, and they're doing an incentive where you have a chance to win in February a credit towards your trip. So if you register for a 2026 trip in December, you get 2 entries. And if you register in January, you get 1 entry. And then you put that credit towards your trip. It's awesome. So come adventure with me. If you're inspired by this podcast, like take that next step. Go from
Yeah, I
seriously
mean,
considering to registering.
who would you want to lead you in places outside, out in the world? I mean, you are the person to go with.
I agree. I mean, we will have so much fun and you will really see me in my element. Like really see me in my
All right,
element.
well, go check these trips out.
Yeah.
Go adventure with Jess. Thank you for sharing all of that. And until the next time, when our next big adventure
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what's
unfolds,
next.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Speed. I'm feeling some speed coming
All
on.
right.
But
Super sprint.
we'll see. I don't know.
See.
It will find me. I know it will find me. And it's that moment where I go, oh shit, here it is. And I haven't felt that yet.
If you're enjoying the Yogi Triathlete podcast, you'll love our other show, Awake Athlete. 5 complete seasons, short, potent, no surface chatter episodes to train the mind like you train the body. Season 6 is live now. Search for Awake Athlete wherever you get your podcasts and start listening today.